Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry that I'm a day late posting this video. My week was completely thrown off, so I kind of got a little bit busier than anticipated and wasn't able to get the video out yesterday. So to address the first video, I'm going to go into a little more detail on what exactly he was doing throughout the snippet I shared with all of you. We're going to dissect his actions and what they meant to get a better understanding of what was actually happening. But first, before I dive into that, I want to give the reason why I gave him a chance. He was persistent, to say the least. I've never had anyone try to pursue me as hard as he did. I always was the one to be the one trying and keeping the relationship alive. And at the time, his persistency was flattering to me. But looking back at it, it should have been a red flag because he was very pushy. So even though he was persistent, he was also very pushy. And he really wouldn't take no for an answer. So, for example, by asking me how I'm doing throughout the years, keeping tabs, checking in, etc., right? He was, at that point, just trying to keep his foot in the door, right? Laying a foundation, if you will. When he came to my birthday party and wouldn't take no for an answer multiple times, that was a red flag. Example 2. By getting mad at me for being mad at him whenever I confronted him through Messenger was a form of manipulation. So what they do is they try to justify their actions and make you seem like you're the one who's out of line. They make you have they have every reason to be mad at you and not the other way around. So they try to switch the roles. So the intention is to try to make you feel sorry and apologize to them because they now feel attacked because you confronted them for the wrong they did to you. And now they're trying to convince you that they're the victim, all because you called them out. And how dare you call them out, right? I'm sure we've all been there. At least most of us, unfortunately. So when he reached out to make amends after I cut things off, I can't say for certain what his actual intentions were at the time. Maybe he really did feel sorry for his actions. He did seem genuinely sorry at the time, but I'll never truly know if he actually was. I seem to doubt it, but what I can tell you is what I think now. What I believe. What I believe that at that time he still had a minor obsession with me. I was still some conquest that he hadn't accomplished yet. And that's not to say that to be conceited, but given everything else and everything that formed around our relationship, this seems like the most likely option, in my opinion. Because he weaseled his way into being my friend so that eventually he could sleep with me. And then eventually grab a hold of me and never let me go. Or at least that was his plan, in my opinion. I believe he manipulated that whole relationship. He became what he thought I needed him to be to fool me. And fool me he did. It's hard to know who's really your friend and who has ulterior motives. Unfortunately, we can't always know, but it just takes time and experience to figure it out. Also, it's learning to listen and trust that inner voice, that intuition, your Holy Spirit, your gut feeling, whatever you're comfortable calling it. It's always there for a reason. It is there to warn us. It is there to caution us. It is there to potentially save our lives. And there have been too many times where I completely ignored that part of myself, because as women in general, we have this fixer mentality. We constantly give benefit of the doubt, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You have to know where the line has to be drawn in regards to what's overstepping for you. It takes a while to figure out what your boundaries are if you've never really had any, or if you have someone in your life that is constantly fiddling with that line, right? So what people in his position like to do is you typically have a general idea of what your boundaries are, right? So you draw this line, and it's a pretty clear line. And what they like to do is they like to creep towards this line, right? So once they creep towards this line, they tend to just bump it. Oops, I bumped this line, but they didn't actually cross it, right? So they desensitize you to this bump, right? They desensitize you to that because they're like, well, we go, well, at least they didn't cross the line. They just got really close, right? But they desensitize you to that. And then eventually they do this real quick, toe over the line, right? And they jump right back. So they technically cross that line, but they keep desensitizing you to that little snippet of, oh. And then they keep doing that until they just play jump rope with this line, jumping back and forth over your boundary until you're desensitized to that. And then guess what? What are we doing? We're moving our boundary. We're tolerating more than we ever originally wanted to tolerate in the first place. And it's always really subtle. We don't always notice it. But there is always that feeling that this doesn't feel right. I don't know why. I feel icky about this, or this feels weird, or I'm having a weird feeling. It's telling you something. That feeling, that intuition, please learn to listen to it. It is there. Whether it is that you need to take a step back and reevaluate the situation of actually what is going on until you figure out why you were getting this feeling, or just remove yourself completely and be like, I don't know why this is happening, but I'm going to trust it and I'm just going to end things here. I think ultimately we will be grateful that we did at some point. So in my next video next Friday, well, actually I'll probably end up putting that one out on Saturday as well, because my schedule is a little different this next week too. I'm going to go into another snippet in time with that particular relationship to give you an even deeper feel for what had happened and how it got to the point that it did. So if you have a better understanding after listening to just the little snippets that I've given, please continue to listen, because I am willing to share my experience with you in order to help. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I look forward to having you watch. Bye.